The relentless cat-and-mouse game between smugglers and authorities has fueled innovation in offshore powerboat design, blending speed with stealth. Similarly, narco submarines represent a new frontier in this evolution, showcasing how ingenuity adapts to the high-stakes world of illicit trade. In the aftermath of World War II, Italy was a nation struggling to rebuild, its people caught between the lira and cigarettes. The war had left its mark on the land and its economy, and in Mussolini's wake, honest work was scarce. As American troops lingered under the guise of reconstruction, the Italians faced an urgent truth. Survival would not wait for long-term solutions. On the tranquil shores of Lake Como, near the Swiss border, a shadow economy began to take shape. Switzerland, untouched by the war's devastation, offered a prize Italians craved: cigarettes. For a handful of bold entrepreneurs, this simple commodity became a makeshift currency. By day they were laborers, by night smugglers. Braving mountainous terrain and icy waters, they ferried their contraband across the border in rowboats, silent, steady, and unlikely to attract suspicion. The trade spread like wildfire. From the quiet lakes to the bustling ports of Naples, the lure of cigarettes ignited an underground empire. Fishermen turned smugglers mastered the seas, transforming their humble vessels into high-performance powerboats. Just 6 miles offshore, in the haven of international waters, mother boats awaited their nightly cargo, bags packed with 500 boxes of cigarettes each. Payment was ingenious. 1,000-lire banknotes torn in half, one side held by the mother boat and the other by the smugglers. Only when the halves matched was the deal complete. As the trade flourished, the logistics grew more sophisticated. By the 1990s, cigarette smuggling reached Italy's eastern coast. Lugano, Switzerland, became its command center, a labyrinth of luxury apartments and 5-star hotels hosting a small but powerful cadre of strategists. They directed an armada of 400 boats, each playing a role in a nightly ballet across the Adriatic Sea. Montenegro and Malta served as pivotal free ports, ensuring that taxes and the authorities remained at bay. The smugglers' ingenuity extended beyond their roots. Professional powerboat races doubled as covert showcases for cutting-edge technology. Customs agents and criminals alike scouted the waters, searching for vessels capable of outrunning pursuit. These boats, with their high-flow carburetors and cleaver propellers, were not just tools of the trade. They were a testament to Italian engineering, later coveted as far as Miami. Through it all, cigarettes remained more than a vice. They were a symbol, an unofficial currency, a thread that connected disparate worlds. From street corners to luxury yachts, their journey shaped economies and lives. Over time, cigarettes faded from prominence, their cultural dominance supplanted by regulation and shifting attitudes. But their legacy endures, a reminder of how history, like smoke, drifts, reshapes, and repeats.
Quickly singled out as most likely to succeed, the cigarette, owned and driven by American Don Aronow. The 1,000-horsepower craft streaked back to Cowes and its welcome harbor at a fantastic 66 miles an hour, 13 miles an hour faster than the record set 2 years ago.
Don Aronow was a pioneering force in offshore powerboat racing in the United States. He was inspired by the innovation in Italian boat design and brought groundbreaking designs to the U.S. Aronow established several renowned companies on Miami's Thunderboat Row, including Formula, Donzi, Magnum Marine, and Cigarette. His boats, known for their speed and performance, dominated offshore racing and revolutionized the industry.
The boats the Customs Service uses to catch drug smugglers were built for customs by convicted drug dealers who used laundered drug money to buy the boat company.
Apparently, Don Aronow was widely known on both sides of the law. Society's upper crust and its underbelly were lured by his boats and his style. He even built a boat for one of his new friends, then Vice President George Bush.
His friendships with everyone from police chiefs to presidents was widely known. He was the father of that industry. Aronow was to boats what Ford was to automobiles as far as offshore racing goes.
In 1985, Aronow's big league connections paid off. His USA Racing Company landed a $1.7 million deal to build chase boats for the U.S. Customs Service. The high-speed catamarans were designed to intercept drug smugglers off the Florida coast. Aronow landed the no-bid contract as if he were the only game in town. The boats were called Blue Thunder. But not long after the first boat hit the water, Aronow quietly sold the company and the government contract to this man, Ben Kramer, one of Miami's biggest drug smugglers.
Ben Kramer, as we know, owned a powerboat company, APACHE. It's common knowledge that Mr. Kramer was involved in the smuggling business.
Customs now had a deal with the devil, trying to catch drug smugglers with boats supplied by a man who smuggled drugs. It is now known that Ben Kramer and his father used freshly laundered drug dollars to buy Aronow's company and the customs boat contract.
When we looked at the money and traced the money back, we began to draw the common denominator of the offshore boat business and, by inference, marijuana smuggling.
The deal in which Aronow sold the government's contract turned out to be a part of one of the biggest money laundering schemes ever uncovered. The investigation ended with convictions for Ben Kramer, his father Jack, and their attorney, Melvin Kessler. Just one day before he would have been subpoenaed to appear before a grand jury, Aronow was murdered.
When Metro-Dade homicide detectives arrived, they found Aronow's bullet-riddled white Mercedes.
A celebrity gunned down in front of dozens of witnesses in a gangland-style killing. After a 4-year investigation, police arrested 41-year-old hitman Bobby Young for Aronow's murder. Young had already been indicted in Florida for another murder and was serving time in Oklahoma on a cocaine charge. His lawyer in the cocaine case? Melvin Kessler, the same attorney involved with the Kramers when they bought Aronow's company.
Here's the US 1 Apache out of North Miami Beach, Florida, Ben Kramer. He's got to be one of the boats favored in this race coming in. A strong competitor all the way. That's Apache.
And Dick, if you notice, these boys in this particular boat are not sitting down. They're standing up. They're absorbing the waves, the rough water here today by just bending their knees slightly.
Actually, at this point, Jim, it doesn't look like it's a particularly rough ride for this boat. It's cutting right through the waves, and they're not really fighting the waves at this point.
A brand new boat for you today. Do you feel comfortable in a smaller boat?
Not really. I'd much rather have my boat and Bob Cicente, but Sal was gracious enough to let me borrow his boat and Gus, and it's probably as good as you can get. I chased the same boat for the last 2 years, so it can't be all bad.
In 3 weeks, Ben Kramer's performed a miracle, back from a horrible accident, and best of luck to you today. You deserve it.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it. Phil, thanks.
The same men who were celebrated on the water were also ferrying massive loads of narcotics, turning a blind eye to the law. At the heart of this dark chapter in the sport's history were two men, Sal Magluta and WIllie Falcon. Magluta and Falcon ran one of the largest cocaine trafficking organizations in Miami. But they didn't just smuggle drugs. They were decorated offshore powerboat racers, men who dominated the sport both legally and illegally. With vast sums of drug money, Magluta and Falcon sponsored their own team, building boats that were the envy of the racing world. Their winnings in the sport were matched only by the millions they earned in the drug trade, making them untouchable for years. The Seahawk boats were symbols of speed, success, and secrecy, part of an empire that stretched from the Miami docks to the jungles of Colombia. Magluta and Falcon's fall from grace in the 1990s was spectacular, a public unraveling of both their racing career and their drug empire.
Place an open class 2, number 25, in the big beautiful black Seahawk boat. Second time in a catamaran, second time in the class, second time using artisan drives. All those things come together and they give us a bid number 1. Today was not the day for the small boats, apparently. It was the guys that stay together. It looks like There's someone in that boat that's holding his head down, probably because of the wind. Yeah, he's keeping his head down out of the wind. A tremendous strain on your neck at that speed.
Smuggling by boat eventually became vulnerable to increased aerial and maritime patrols, forcing smugglers to innovate. Then, as those shipments started to get more regularly intercepted, they sought to use the surface of the sea as cover and got to work on a new kind of craft, self-propelled vessels made by hand in the jungles of Colombia. These vessels, often constructed in remote hidden workshops deep within the jungle, are the result of extensive trial and error. The builders, often skilled artisans with engineering knowledge, work under the constant threat of detection, driven by the high stakes involved in their trade. Narco subs are stateless crafts used for the illicit transportation of drugs from Colombia to Mexico for onward supply to the U.S. Without any national registration, these vessels are designed to be disposable. Once they have completed their journey, they are often scuttled or abandoned to avoid detection and leave no trace behind. The vessels are increasingly sophisticated, with mature designs focusing on low-profile vessels and snorkel subs, a subcategory of semi-submersibles. Over the years, these designs have evolved to evade advanced detection methods. The latest models are almost invisible to radar, with some even featuring advanced noise reduction technology to avoid sonar detection. There are three categories of narco submarines. Semi-submersibles. They travel with only a small part of the vessel above water, making them difficult to detect by radar or aerial surveillance. Semi-submersibles are often used to move drugs from South America to Central America or Mexico. Semi-submersible snorkel subs are capable of ballasting down to lower their surface profile and controlling their running depth, but not fully submerging. These are quite rare, with only a few ever captured. Their rarity makes them particularly valuable to the cartels. Captured snorkel subs often reveal the latest in cartel technology, giving authorities crucial insights into the ever-evolving smuggling methods. Fully submersibles. Fully submersible narco subs are more advanced and can dive completely underwater. These are rarer due to the complexity and cost of construction, but they offer a significant advantage in avoiding detection. Low-profile vessels. Designed with very low profiles that make them almost invisible on the water, they are fast and capable of carrying several tons of drugs. Low-profile vessels are often misdescribed as semi-submersible. They are simply boats designed to run awash to minimize radar cross-section. Their low-slung design allows them to blend into the waves, making them almost invisible to radar systems. These vessels are often painted in colors that match the ocean, further aiding in their concealment. Approximately 92% are made from fiberglass and 8% from sheet steel. Fiberglass is favored for its lightweight and durability, allowing the subs to navigate rough seas and avoid corrosion from salt water. Steel, though heavier, is sometimes used for its strength in critical structural components. The average load is 6 tons. They usually have crews from 4 to 5 men and a range of about 2,500 nautical miles without refueling. This massive cargo capacity reflects the cartel's need to maximize profit on each voyage, with each load potentially worth hundreds of millions of dollars on the street. The crew members, often highly trained and trusted operatives, must endure long, dangerous journeys in cramped, unsanitary conditions. Their ability to navigate and maintain these vessels is critical to the success of the mission. Because of their ability to elude radar systems, narco subs are almost impossible to detect. This has led to increased cooperation between international law enforcement agencies, who now rely on intelligence gathering, satellite surveillance, and aerial reconnaissance to track and intercept these vessels. Only an estimated 14% of them are stopped. This staggering statistic highlights the difficulty of combating this smuggling method. Despite significant investments in detection technology, most narco subs slip through undetected, delivering their illicit cargo with near impunity. Assembled in fewer than 90 days, they are now thought to carry nearly 30% of Colombia's total blow exports. The rapid assembly process, often in hidden jungle facilities, allows cartels to maintain a steady supply of vessels despite frequent losses to law enforcement. This turnover is key to their continued operations. The main area of operations is along the Pacific coast of Colombia, up towards Mexico. This route, known as the Eastern Pacific Pipeline, is preferred due to its remoteness and the challenging nature of patrolling such a vast area. Significant activity also occurs on the Caribbean side. The cartels exploit the region's geography to avoid detection. The Caribbean routes, while shorter, are heavily patrolled by multiple countries' coast guards. However, the Narco Subs' stealth capabilities make these routes viable, particularly for smaller, more nimble vessels. After cocaine is offloaded in Mexico by narco submarines, it is received by Mexican cartels, divided, and transported inland. The cocaine is often cut with other substances to increase volume before being repackaged. It is then distributed domestically or smuggled across the U.S. border using various methods. In the U.S., it passes through wholesale distributors to street-level dealers. The profits are laundered through legitimate businesses or smuggled back to Mexico, fueling further drug trafficking, violence, and corruption. As demand for cocaine grew in Europe, cartels adapted their operations, developing narco submarines capable of crossing the Atlantic Ocean. The first known Atlantic narco sub was intercepted in 2006, but the technique became more prominent in the 2010s. Despite the challenges, there have been notable successes in intercepting narco submarines. For example, in 2019, a fully submersible vessel carrying 7.7 tons of cocaine was intercepted off the coast of Spain. These interceptions are often the result of international cooperation and intelligence sharing. Remote-controlled narco submarines represent a significant technological advancement in drug trafficking methods. These vessels are designed to transport illegal substances across bodies of water without requiring a human crew on board. The route between Albania and Italy is one of the key corridors for such operations, given its proximity and the significant drug trafficking networks operating in the region. Remote-controlled narco submarines are equipped with GPS navigation systems and can be operated from a distance, often from land-based locations. These vessels can be pre-programmed with specific routes and can even be remotely redirected if law enforcement is detected. They are often designed to be semi-submersible or low-profile to avoid detection by radar and other surveillance technologies. These vessels are typically built in clandestine workshops in Albania or elsewhere in the region. They are often constructed from lightweight, radar-resistant materials such as fiberglass and are designed to carry significant payloads, sometimes several hundred kilograms of drugs. One of the most prominent interceptions involving a narco submarine in the context of drug trafficking between Albania and Italy occurred in July 2018, marking a significant victory for law enforcement agencies combating this sophisticated smuggling technique. The interception was the result of a coordinated intelligence effort involving weeks of surveillance and monitoring of suspected smuggling routes. Italian authorities utilized advanced technology, including aerial drones and maritime patrols, to track and intercept the narco submarine.